Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6, Books and Beyond. Hi, Roger.
Hello. I can't help but be involved. I can't help it.
Please go ahead. No, go ahead. I mean, that's your thing. So just for the audience, um, well, my name is Alinka. I'm your host. You know me, boring, not going into me. But today we do have a very, very, very special guest, a man of many talents and many, many roles. And here he is, Roger Haskett from Vancouver, Canada. I'm happy to say fellow Canadian. Welcome, Roger. Thank you. You are such a busy man. We appreciate you making time to have this chat with us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
I think we are more excited for that, but hopefully you're almost there, and you were not interrupting anything, any filming, anything like that. Okay. So how are you today?
So good. It's a beautiful day. I don't know, like in Vancouver. So I'm from Vancouver, Canada. There's a long-standing joke in Vancouver that, it rains all the time. But what I do find about Vancouverites, like the real Vancouverites, is that it doesn't matter. Like when the sun comes out, everything's good. Like it's like, oh, I just got into a car accident, but it's okay. It's sunny because it's Vancouver. So I'm in a great mood.
Wonderful. I'm almost there with Toronto. Almost there. Well, it's so you have a lot of achievements in in your life. So I think we have a lot to talk to today. But maybe we can start first with the book, because you have an amazing book, which has an even better title, "The Me You Want to Be." And I think everybody here is very, very curious as to what is, I guess, the secret behind that. Would you want to kind of walk us through?
Sure. So absolutely. So my book is The Me You Want to Be, which is really Roger's rules for a bigger, better, more powerful you. So I feel like almost everything in my life leads me towards this book. So I started so right now what I am is I'm an actor, I'm a teacher, I'm a speaker, I'm an entrepreneur. I run a company called Engagement Unlimited, where we do like 100 shows a year, where we're mostly doing improv, standing in front of people, trying to make them laugh, trying to make them engage, trying to have drive deeper relationships into their bodies with the people that are around them. So what I do on a regular basis now is stand up on stages, like whether that stage is a classroom session, or whether that stage is an actual stage with thousands of people in front of me, or whether that stage is a TV camera or film camera when I'm acting on TV or film. And so what I found early in my life was that I had all these things in me that I wanted to say, but I didn't know how to say them so that people would want to listen. And so I would say things and people wouldn't listen. And I had these really a couple stories that really resonated in my life that really drove me as a young person into a certain direction. And I start this book with the first story when I'm in grade 9, and I've been chosen as a young leader, and I'm like, what? Me? A young leader? Like, I don't know who you're thinking I am, but I'm not a young leader. And I was expected to come to this event and then stand up in front of a bunch of teachers and students and a bunch of community leaders and talk about myself. And in the story, I talk about how I failed so deeply that I literally found a character flaw in my soul. That I found that when I was under too much stress, my character became like subservient to stress. So that when stress was in my life, my character, the things that I wanted my life to be like, and the way I want it to be, sort of drifted further away. And then when I was under stress, this other person showed up, this other person who I didn't want to be. And in that story, I talk about how I stole my best friend's joke just so I wouldn't look like an idiot, but he would. And in that yeah, it's horrible. And in that moment, I was like, who am I? Like, who am I? Like, who am I, this person that just threw my best friend under a bus just so that I wouldn't feel like an idiot? for no reason at all, except for in front of some strangers. And then, I fast forwarded to when I was in university. I was in grade 9. And at university, I was in first year at UVic. At UB in Victoria, where we were talking just recently. Beautiful place. I'm going to stand up to tell this story. Okay, here we go. I need to move my body when I'm
no, go ahead.
So in first year, we all take pictures for our residence. So, I'm on a residence of all guys, and there's 30 guys. And this is near the end of the school year. So we all know each other. And I stand up in our meeting and I go, which is very hard for me to do. It's not easy for me to stand up at this point in my life. And I say to, the guys, I go, hey, instead of just taking a picture, standing up, in our room, why don't we go do something exciting? And they're like, well, what are you going to suggest, Haskett? And I'm like, why don't we go sneak into the theater? Even though I wasn't an actor at this point, I wasn't an actor at all. I was like, let's sneak into the theater and let's get up on, instead of getting up on the stage and standing there, let's sit in the theater like we're watching a movie, and we're all watching a movie, and that's how and so they're like, yeah, that's sort of a good idea. So we all walk over, we break into the theater, and and it's taking an hour, right? We're all sitting in, and there's a photographer, one of our people on. No one had phones back then. I'm an old guy. We had people had old cameras that would, and we're setting it up, and it's taking some time. And finally, one of the guys goes a football player guy, who has instant attention, stands up and he goes, "This is idiotic, Haskett. Let's just get up on the stage and take a picture." And I remember seeing this hour of work all just disappear because one person was able to convince a crowd more than I was, even though we were moments away from a photo. So at the end of the day, we took a picture just like every other picture that was in in the annual, and we spent an hour doing something amazing that never happened. And those sort of lessons taught me. They were I went home so angry that night, because I was like, why did something that was almost art get turned into something that was just blah? And the reason was because I couldn't argue my case better, because I couldn't engage the group more, because I couldn't convince them that the idea that we actually had all voted on and agreed on was a better idea. And so what happened is that all through my life, I've been sort of struggling with, how do I become the me that I want to be? I think it's a spectrum. I think it's a spectrum like this. I think that there's, at one end of the spectrum is the me you are. And being happy about who you are is one of the most, I think, important things you can do in life. To love yourself is one of the most, how can you love other people without loving yourself fully? Well, this is, every movie and every show is about this. Every novel is about how important it is to love yourself. So at one end of the spectrum is being yourself and loving that. But at the other end of the spectrum, there's the me that you want to be. And the me that you want to be is usually you recognizing the me, the best parts of you, and just wanting to be them all the time, not just some of the time. Because what happens in life is that when stress rises up in our life, what happens to us is that negativity rises up. Positivity goes away. What we have is this thing called positive amnesia, where all we can remember are the negative things that have happened to us. And we forget, we literally have amnesia around the positive things. So we're in this spectrum of, I want to be the me that I am, and I want to be happy that way. But at the same time, I see that there's a me that I want to be, that I can't be all the time, but I can every once in a while. This is the me that I want to be more often. And I want to be that me in the moments that are the most important in my life, in the moments when I make the most important and most significant decisions for my life, when I make the most important choices that push me in a path. I want to be the me that I want to be, with all the power that brings to a body. And so to me, that's all about internal power. That's all about, how do you be powerful in those moments where you typically feel powerless? So, I want, I walk into rooms where I'm auditioning, or I'm like, on stage where I'm like speaking, or I'm entertaining, or I'm emceeing, or I'm playing an actor, playing a character. Like I want to be magnificent in those moments. I want to be magnificent. And yet in those moments of stress, I found that I was the opposite of magnificent. I was the opposite of me. I couldn't even do typical things like breathe. Like I'd walk into these stressful situations and I'd be like, how do I breathe in these rooms? Like I can't even reach for the me I want to be because I can't even breathe. So I needed to figure out how to go from I can't breathe to I'm regularly doing magnificent things. And that's what this book is about. It's step by step, like process in like ideas for how to build, how to fill the gap from the me that you are to climb to the me that you want to be in these moments when the me that you want to be is the one that you have to be. Wow, that was a lot of talking.
No, that's a very good talk. I actually wanted to take a break. Maybe afterwards we can take that theater. We can go back to the theater photo. I you seem to bring a good rationale, at least from my point of view. So, but you have an interesting. So you have your book also split it into. You have an audio book, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the paper, the conventional paper format.
Yeah.
Do you think the audio book is better in a way?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I think that they do two different things. So I recommend the audiobook for people who are listening the first or reading it the first time, people who want an easy way in, people who want a more engaged experience. I'm reading it. So, it's my words. I'm an actor. It's I'm hoping it should be engaging and pull people in, which is what I hear. But the book is great for people who need something tangible, who like to engage with with books. Like I'm an engager, so I put things all over my books and I write in them nonstop. Because to me that's the important stuff. Is like when I write in a book, this is when I go back to it. The book becomes a living document, and as a result, I can return to it and deepen, like I can go, oh yeah, this is where my thoughts led me to the first time. So I think that they do different things. And then in the book, you have tons and tons of footnotes, which I love footnotes. I'm a footnoter. I read them. I think they're fascinating. So if you like footnotes, get the book. If you like a fun, dynamic, engaging experience, get the audio book. If you like to write, get the book. So it's for different things for different people.
Okay, sounds good. I think that's good advice, considering we have a variety of people on the line and also in the community, each of us having their own their own moments of listening, reading, and so on. But you also have, I think, to your point, if I'm not mistaken, your book has very interesting tools within it, right? It has some quizzes, it has some different games and exercises. What brought you to kind of add these elements to the book?
Sure. So one of my like philosophies, one of my Rogers rules that I live by, that's so deep in me, it took me quite a while to figure out it was there, is the more fun you have, the more fun they have. This sort of rule has guided my life. It's guided my company. My company, Engagement Unlimited, has been built on this philosophy. The more fun you have, the more fun they have. And this literally is how I hire and fire people in my organization. Like I will say to someone after a while, I'll be like, you don't seem to be having that much fun. I see you on stage, you don't seem to be having fun. And they're like, no, I'm not. It's hard work. It's not really that fun. I'm like, just so you know, I told you when I was hiring you, I hire people and fire them based on the more fun you have, the more fun they have. Because if you're not having fun, they're not having fun. And that's part of the purpose of what we're here to do, is to build fun. And they're like, well, what's so important about that? And I'm like, well, there's power in play. So one of my talks, my third talk actually, is called The Power and Purpose and Profit in Play. But it really looks at how there is so much power in this concept of play that we sort of walk away from. Like we live, like we live the opposite way that we should often. Humans often live the opposite way that we should. We turn away from things that fill us full of power instead of turning towards them. And play is one of those things. Play is a way of unifying different stakeholders. Man, you want to unify people into an engaged team, get them to play together. As a matter of fact, in my talk, The Power Purpose of Play, I often say, like I say to organizations, you want to know how you should really be hiring people? On the third hire, get them out of the interview and get them playing with you. Like if you're interviewing them 3 times, get them playing with you. Like take them out to like a games night and see what they're like, because when people play, their real self often comes out. They can't control it, and you want to know what their real self is. Is it encouraging? Is it an inclusive? Is it an engaging energy that they have, or is it a competitive, like anything to win attitude? And you might want either of those. So it's really, or you might want neither. Playing is one of these amazing ways of looking. So Plato said, I can learn more in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. Right? So you think about that, you go, if you really want to get to know people, play with them. And be careful, because play is so powerful that just by playing with someone, you develop feelings for them. They've done studies that show that if you are just playing next to a person, not even talking to them, not even looking at them, but just playing like the same sort of video game with them, by the end of 15 minutes, when you turn to look at that stranger, in your body, you have feelings of friendship. So just by playing with someone, you end up feeling more friendly towards them, which is exactly why we see playing happening more and more in the world for brands. This is why playful brands are rising and will continue to rise, because they're figuring out if you play with a brand, you start to feel good things towards that brand. So in my book, I put I start each chapter with quizzes that are ridiculous and fun, that are comical and get people laughing. I include all sorts of things to make people laugh and to lift lighter, and put jokes in, but mostly what I use are stories. I use stories all the way through it because stories are our #1 communication tool. We use them 80% of the time when we're talking. He said this, she said this, and then that happened. Woo, story. And so I put stories, I put all of these things in so that it's easier to read, so it's easier to learn. And by the end of it, you actually have ideas and powers in your body that you didn't even know you had before, but now you actually have them as tools to use to get to where you want to go in life. Did that answer?
Yeah, I take it your the writing experience was playful for you. Would that be fair to say?
That's a really insightful question, because no. I mean, yes. I mean, like, there's lots of times where I love writing. I'm a writer. I write when I'm not doing anything else. I write. I've written musicals and TV shows and movies, and many of them have gone very far. Writing is in my body. It's part of what I do. My dad was a writer. Writing is brutal. Writing is one of the hardest things you can do. My God, I think of it as hell half the time. Like, I look at coming up my stairs to my office and I'm like, the last thing I want to do is go in that room, because it's only me and the words. It's only me and my brain. And oh man, it's, when you're writing and it's just you and your brain, it's easy to start to feel like there's not enough people in the room if that's all there is. And then other times writing is glorious. Like, there are times when I finish writing and I run downstairs to slide the piece of paper in front of Jenny, my spouse, or one of my partners, and just watch their face as they read to Okay, let me tell you a story about how I learned I was a writer. I never thought of myself as a writer. This story happened in 2001. So at this point, I'd already been making a living for 7 years as a writer and not knowing it. Like, not even if someone said you were a writer, I would have said, what? No. And they would have said, but don't you write all the things for your shows? And I would be, oh, yeah, but that's not a writer. I mean, I'm just doing that. So I figured out I was a writer. I had written a show. I had co-written a show for the 150th anniversary for the YMCA. So everyone from the YMCA, which is the Young Christians Men Association, around the world, came to Canada, came to Vancouver, and their gala night was they hired our company and we put on an hour-and-a-half show where it was 45 minutes of singing and dancing and 45 minutes of original sketch comedy. So my partner and I wrote the 45 minutes of sketch comedy. And the first joke I wrote when we were pitching the idea to the client, I said, oh my God, wait, just a sec. Are you telling me that you guys are the YMCA Young Christian, but you're not young? I mean, you're not young, you're not Christian, you're not men anymore? And they're like, yeah, we're not. We're an association. And I go, okay, so you got association. You got 1 out of 4. And they're like going, yes. And I'm like, so I'm going to get Meatloaf to come in at the end of a scene, which is all about renaming your organization because you're 1 out of 4, and he's going to come in and he's going to sing because instead of singing 2 out of 3 ain't bad, he's going to sing you're not young, you're not Christian, or men, but you are an association, so don't feel bad, because 1 out of 4 ain't bad. So that's the first line I wrote. So in the show, there's 1,000 people watching, there's 1,000 people in the audience, there's like 15 people on stage singing and dancing. Meatloaf is there. He's lost weight. So they say, who are you? And he goes, I'm Veggie Loaf. I've lost weight. And he goes on and he sings the song and he sings 1 out of 4 ain't bad. And the audience erupts. Like, the audience has loved the show up until now. They've loved it. They've been laughing and clapping. It's been crazy. But this line hits. And because everyone who works for the YMCA has had to say, we're not young, we're not Christian, we're not men, about 1,000 times a day, when that line comes out, the audience goes crazy. And it's one of those experiences. I'm backstage with my back to the audience, and I can feel the energy shooting through the stage, and it's shooting through my body, and my body electrifies. And I'm watching, like, hearing it, and I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, I wrote that line. Like, the very first line of the show, I wrote that line because it was so obvious and it was so good. And this applause and laughter goes on and on. I mean, like, it goes on for like 1.5 minutes, which is a long time on stage. Everyone on stage is just standing around, they're looking at each other, smiling, like they're like starting to break out of it because it's like going on for so long, until finally calm down and we go on with the show. And it was in that moment, that one moment where all of a sudden I went, ding, I'm a writer. Like, I'm a writer. Like, this is what happens when you're a writer. You write things like that and people respond like that. That's a writer. So some of the time when I write, it's like that. Some of the time when you write, things are so glorious. You've done something that you can't imagine you would have done, and it affects people in a way that you only imagined. Then it's amazing. And then the rest of it is 90% of really hard work. Like, really hard work, hard work. This is why people don't do it. Man, I understand it. I wouldn't do it. If someone had told me how much work it was it's the same thing as an entrepreneur. If someone had told me as an entrepreneur how much work my company really was going to take, I would have worked for someone else.
So then how long did it take you to put together the book?
Took me about a year of serious writing and about a year of serious, about 3/4 of a year of serious editing. So about a year and a half, almost.
You did it yourself? Did you edit it yourself?
No,
Or did you?
I brought in. Yeah, I hired a publisher / editor, which was brilliant. It's too hard to edit your own stuff, I think.
Yeah. Also with, I guess, support from, you said, your family and friends. while
Oh yeah, so
reviewing
then
some of the passages?
yeah, I sent it out to people. It's so interesting. I can't expect my closest friends and relatives to read stuff anymore. They don't. They're like, sure. I go, hey, I've got. I mean, I honestly hate my spouse is down there. I don't think my spouse has read this book. She goes, oh yeah, and I'll say something about, you remember that story, and she'll be like, what story? And I'll be like, yeah, you didn't read this book. But what I do is I have a group of people that are my readers, that are like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 readers that I'll send it out to. And you never listen to what any individual reader says, but you listen to what groups of readers say. So, if everyone has a problem with this chapter, pay attention to that chapter, that sort of, that's the sort of thing,
Also, you have I saw that you have we have the website here. So the book has a website, right? And
Yeah.
have all the great resources, the press releases, and
Yep.
there was a lot of you invested, I guess, a lot into just marketing, all in all. Did you find that useful? Did you want to add it as a tool in your portfolio?
Yeah, we don't. It's funny. There's so many things that we constantly sort of are creating and doing that often things after a year or two get left behind. And we do market for the book, but we don't market that much exclusively. We mostly market through our events and other things that we do. Book marketing is tricky. Like anything to do with the book, I found that every time I turned to another thing to do with this, it was like, oh, another month of learning. Like, like it'd be, oh, another month and a half of figuring out how this is. And then you'd sort of be like, okay, what do I need to do now that I've sort of learned what so marketing was hard in that way too. I sell it to Amazon and Audible. So, that's one of the, I chose that even though I'm not a big fan of Amazon. Like, Amazon's a big monopoly now, and monopolies are harming our world. There's a lot of injustice in our world, and big, huge corporations are at the heart of it. So I feel very conflicted about putting it on Amazon, but then I'm like, this is where people go to get things. So anyway. Yeah. It's hard. I feel both, what's the word? Hypocritical. Yeah. Oh, what's that word? Hypocritical, the thing I am. Yeah, the word that I can't quite remember that. Oh yeah, I am. I'm a little hypocritical that way.
Well, I guess sometimes you just have to, please, if you want to get it, because I think the purpose from your point of view is for that it reaches all the right people. So if those people, some of them use Amazon, then you have to we have to play with what the generations are using.
You hit on a really good point there. My motivation for this is really my motivation for almost all the things I do really is just to get as many people to see it as possible. Success and fame are things that I've actually worked away from my whole life as an actor. I'm not a big fan of what fame does to people. I'm not a big fan of having, as an actor and as a performer, you'd think we'd be different than this, but I'm a performer that when I get off stage, I just want to be left alone. Like, I have no desire to live a life that has fame as its backdrop, except if I had fame, I could get lots more people to read and come across the ideas that I think are really important. And I think that the world, I keep coming back to this. Like, my last chapter in this book is like, why, what's the purpose of the book? Like, I put it at the very end, because to me, like, the chapter is how your change changes the world. Can you see that? Can't really there. Oh, that light, like, whatever. It says how your change changes the world. And really, I really wrote this. I talk, I get on stages, I do things because the world needs to change. The world needs to change. And whatever we all can do to help in that direction is, I've got kids, I've got friends and family. I don't have to have kids to have this feeling. The world needs people to stand up and say what's important. And the world needs other people to stand up for what they believe. And all of these things are, I needed this, all of the things that are in this book, so I could stand up for what I believed. Um, if I could help one other person stand up for what they believe, if that could help another person stand up for what they believe, and that has some effect on our world, I mean, that's what I live for. I mean, that's those, that's the legacy or history that I feel that we all should be reaching for.
Well, I think to this point, based on based on the reviews, on some of the reviews that I personally saw from the book, I think you probably touched a bit more than just one
I hope.
one of those changes. So you have some great reviews there. Um,
Thanks.
how was post launching? Did you have a launching event for the book,
Yes,
or?
well, sort of. I mean, like we launched it in this summer. It's funny. Anyone who's written a book, I think, will understand this. And anyone who's thinking of this, keep this in mind. When I finally pushed the send on the final send for the final, this was the launch. There was no going back. If I changed anything at that point, it was going to be thousands and tens of thousands of dollars of change of stuff. When I pushed it, I literally went doing, and I sat down and I wrote down 7 things that I should have done differently. And if I had it was one of those weird, like if I had pretended to push the button. If you guys have ever watched Ender's Game, there's a spoiler in it, but like it's like Ender's Game. If I had ever pretended to push the button and then had those 7 thoughts and then spent the next day just fixing those 7 thoughts, my book would be 10 times better. And I'm waiting for a reprint. But the launch was really exciting in the sense that it was really great to see reviews coming in, like the ones that did come in. It was really exciting to see that it really did hit some people, and that people wrote in things like life-changing, and this is the best audiobook I've listened to in this year, and other ones saying, of all the self-help books I've read, this one by far has the most practical advice that I've already implemented and seen a change, from. Like that type of launch and getting those type of responses, I have to say was pretty amazing. That gave me a juice. That gave me juice for a while.
Okay, so then it seems that people are asking for more. Any plans to continue writing?
Yeah, like it's funny, when I finished this book and for the next year, I was like, oh, I got 7 more books in me, like at least, like, because writing in the process of writing the book opens up to you all sorts of other ideas where you're like, oh yeah, this is a book. Like I should be talking about this. I talk about this stuff all the time. So yeah, like my first talk is called Pressure Cooker Confidence. And that's what this book grew out of, that, or that grew out of this book, however you want to look at it. So this is sort of tied to my, confidence and stress talk. So I have a bunch of other talks since then. So I have like the how to create engagement, both virtually and live. So that's a book that's waiting to happen. I've got a talk, The Power of Play. That's a book that's waiting to happen. I've got a talk, Magnetic Communication Skills to Magnetize People to You. That's a book that, I don't know, who wouldn't want to read that book. And I've got another talk, The Rise of the Participant, which ties into sort of movements and sort of ties into standing up for what you believe and so that's a book. So, but since I wrote this in 2008, since then, I write other things. I've written a movie, and I finished a TV show. And so I tend to write all the time. I'll get back to, I don't know,
Books.
Ilinka, I don't know when the next book is. Maybe you light a fire under my butt and say, I'm booking you next year, Roger, for your next book. And I'll be like, all right, I guess I got to write a book. My next book will be way shorter. It will be way shorter with much shorter chapters. But that was one of the 2 of the 7 points I made right away. I was like, why did I make my chapters so long? Why didn't I just break them up? So yeah, I would do that.
Okay, that's a deal. So next year, 11 July,
Oh my God,
you're all
I gotta
set.
write it down.
You're all set. Joe has sent already the details.
That would get me to do it. It's true. That's a sort of, as an entrepreneur, I never create things before they're like, as a writer, I do, which is very frustrating. But as an entrepreneur, I never create a product before I sell it. So, which is why I'm used to stress, because what I'll do is I'll walk into rooms, and I'll walk into an organization's room, and they'll say, hey, this is our problem. And I'll go, great. What we should do is this, we should write this and we should do this will solve your problem. And they'll go, great. So when can we do that? And I'll go, well, I just need to schedule some stuff. Let me work on that. So I'll walk out the door and I'll be like, I need to write it. And so then I go to write it, and then I spend a day or a week, whatever it is. And I'm like, who's the idiot that said that I could do this? Like, who's the moron that said I could get this done? And then, after a week or 2 days or whatever the time is, I go, and there it is. And then we do it. I love the pressure. I'm an improviser. So I love the pressure of, I'm a procrastinator and an improviser, and I was a student forever. So, I love this. The deadline is approaching, Roger. If you haven't done a thing, the deadline is approaching, Roger, and you haven't done a thing. Look at the deadline, Roger. You better, done. That's sort of my energy.
Okay, well, then I have to set up some reminders because I think 1 year it's too long of a heads up.
Maybe we can have quarterly. How's the project going? And I'll go, well, Ilinka, I've got all the first 3 chapters done. I'll be like, why did I say that?
Okay, then I'll set up a fake date. Fake due date.
So that would work. So when I was working on a musical, so I co-wrote a musical that sadly has never gone anywhere because my partner and I had partner problems. But this was a musical that was chosen by Disney Studios. We went down to Disney. We performed it at Disney Studios. It was chosen by their top writing, and Stephen Schwartz, who's the guy that wrote Wicked and Godspell, and they have this competition every year. They bring 4 of the new musicals, top new musicals. And so we were chosen, like new musicals that no one had seen. And when I forgot why I was telling you this story. What was it that you said? It was like fake. Oh yeah, that's it. Good. So what we found, my partner and my partner had heart, like, I'm a writer, I will actually sit down and churn out stuff. I'm a binge writer, I'll write for 5 days and get a lot of stuff done. But my partner really had trouble writing. Like, he would, spend a year writing a scene. And it was very frustrating, very challenging. And so we created, we would create fake events. It'd be like, hey, we have this thing coming up where we have to perform. So we need this stuff. We need the rest of the musical done. So you better write it because this thing's coming up. And that thing didn't exist. It was just a fake thing, because fake deadlines actually are real deadlines when you don't know they're fake. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the last half of that musical was written with fake deadlines. So
okay, just for everybody to know, this is not a fake recording. This is actually happening. Roger, I know. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here, but I know you had some games you wanted us to look at, some trivia.
Yeah,
you were playing with some
let's do that.
Those cool apps. Okay.
Let's do that. Okay, so let me pull up. Where am I over here? I need to get in Cam. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's start with this. So one of the things that I do, we often do virtual pub trivia. We've done a lot of virtual stuff now because we used to do live. Now we do live and virtual. And to make things more exciting is super important in virtual and in live, but in virtual it's harder. So I do lots of things like this. So you guys write in, identify what TV show this is. Dance along and get up, why don't you? You guys have been sitting for so long. So, okay, so write that in. What is that show? This is, oh, let me go over here. So this is something that I do as well, is that I get up and I move a lot, and I get people in my sessions to get up and move a lot. Nothing worse. One of my favorite quotes is, I wish I had written this quote, the brain can only absorb what the bum can endure. Right? Like your brain can only absorb what your bum is able to put up with, because at a certain point, you just shut down. Your brain shuts down. So anyway, I get people to get up. Okay, so are we getting people to guess? Oh, let me go back over here. Are we getting people to guess? Let me do this next one. This is my favorite. This is one of my favorite rock songs. Okay, come on. Woo. Saw him dancing there by the record machine. I knew he must have been about 17. Nuded up a bow, play my favorite song, and I could guess you're gonna belong till it was me, yeah, me. I could tell it wasn't belong, it was gonna be me, yeah, me, singing I love rock and roll. That's one of my favorite songs. Here, let's do one more just for fun.
We need the volume louder.
There we go.
So the bum starts moving.
Yeah. So the bum moves and the brain all of a sudden goes, oh, actually, I have a little bit more energy. And now I actually am more involved in this conversation. So, I believe that engagement is a superpower. So when you put engagement into the room, it empowers everything else that's going on in the room. So if you want to create deeper relationships, put engagement in the room. You want to create better bonds, engagement. You want to create deeper learning, put engagement in the room, right? Like if you want to have stronger conversations or difficult conversations, put engagement in the room. So why my company is called Engagement Unlimited. Where are we over here? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, oh, there I am. Yeah, so that's why my company is called Engagement Unlimited, right over here, right? Like we really believe that engagement is a way, driving engagement drives all these other outcomes that people want. You want better relationships. You want, oh, what's going on over there? Is that just something fell down? Oh, something fell down. There we go.
Yeah.
Back to normal.
Now the sky is all blue.
Yeah, the skies are all blue.
There was like,
Yeah.
And it's difficult. Do you find it difficult to, I guess, what would be one example of a challenging room to bring in engagement from?
Oh, well, okay. So I
know we're detouring a bit, but
no,
I think it's an interesting topic.
Yeah, well, so like I have these things in my book called Roger's Rules, and it's really important. I spent some time talking about them. Why are they called Roger's Rules? They're called Roger because I'm Roger, you're not. I also call them Roger's Rules because if you say it fast, it sounds like you're saying Roger Rules. That makes me very happy. But really, like the whole thing about I'm Roger and you're not is that these are rules that have worked for me. I've taught them to thousands of people all over the planet, and they work mostly for other people too. But what's really important is for people to figure out, what are the things that you need to work on now? Like right now, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you need to focus on? Because in my, book, I have a ton of rules. Like it turns out, like, in this book alone, I had something like 40 rules, and that's only some of my rules. And these are rules, like they're rules because they're ways of allowing me to control my process. So they're rules, things like get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like this is one of my base rules. Like if you can change your relationship to discomfort, you can turbocharge your growth in this world. If you just change your relationship to discomfort, and instead of thinking of discomfort as something to run away from, which is what your body and brain and evolution tries to get you to do, instead you turn that on its head and say, discomfort is something that I should be paying attention to. And sometimes discomfort is something I should be embracing, because you can't learn, like you can't grow. You can't break out of whatever position you are in right now. You can't change that position without breaking the status quo. So all growth, all change, all learning has to involve discomfort. It has to. We're human. There's no other way it happens. So if you start to put that into your brain, if you start to think, well, this discomfort is here because like I need this discomfort. Otherwise, I won't change. Otherwise, I won't learn. I like to think of discomfort as an old friend, like, oh, hey, you're here. There must be something in my life that I'm needing to grow from. I must be learning now. I must be changing. So you're in my life. So, hey, discomfort, come along with me. You're not that bad of a person. You know, I'm just a little uncomfortable. That's okay. I can handle being a little uncomfortable right now. And so to me, like, you know, that's like a Rogers rule, like way up there, like fight to be positive. These are rules that I think are central to most people's growth. But you might not like that one. You might be like, forget it. I've already done that, or I'm really good at that. And so you might focus on a different rule, like the way you think about stress determines its impact, or the way you talk to yourself matters, or fight fear disguised as sense. This is one of my favorite ones. Because I don't think so, just like you had a specific question about engagement. I don't think I'm answering that question. You want me to?
No, you are. No,
okay,
you are.
good.
You are.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, good. Just checking. So fight fear disguised as sense. I almost never get to talk about this one, even though it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite in the book. And if you guys are reading the book, skip around to the chapters that most interest you. And I would suggest reading some at the back. I got better at the back where the chapters got much smaller and much more pointed. So read a chapter that's only 3 or 4 pages before you jump into a chapter that's 27 pages or whatever, or 50 pages. Crazy Roger.
We have somebody, Alik, who's also saying change relationship with discomfort, get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah. Alik, I say, Alik, yeah. So this is not my idea. Like getting comfortable, being uncomfortable is my phrasing on it. But there's lots of this idea about getting out of your comfort zone because it's so powerful. And it is so true that as humans, we usually, the moment discomfort enters our life, we sort of turn away from it. We're like, oh, like, you know, I just read something really, I think I tweeted it to myself, no, it was in a movie I was just watching. That's right. They said, don't get comfortable. It was about this guy going undercover in a prison. And the cop was saying, don't get comfortable. He was like going, don't worry, I'll be good. Don't worry, I'll fit in, I'll be good. And he said, don't be comfortable. Comfortable gets you killed. And if you twist that idea, don't be comfortable. Comfortable keeps you exactly where you are.
Where you are.
And this is the same idea of, you know, you should be happy with who you are, but you should also recognize that there's a me that you want to be. And working towards that me that you want to be means that discomfort has to be part of your life. It has to. How can you change yourself without there being discomfort in your life?
So then do you think that there are people that if you ask them if they're happy with who they are and they say yes, there's still people who enjoy staying in that comfort zone. Do you think it's, where do you think the conflict is there? Is it more such a great fear of getting out of the comfort zone that you wouldn't want to see more than who you are?
I think it really depends. I think that like you could meet a Buddhist monk and I could meet, let me rephrase it. I could meet a Buddhist monk and I could be like, buddy, I totally am jealous of you. Like, holy cow, you are who you are and you are so happy with that. And you spread that joy and energy throughout the world. And you talk to people about how, accepting yourself and being yourself. Man, more power to that person. I need to listen to that person more. But there's also, for the vast majority of people who aren't Buddhist monks or who aren't Zen or who aren't so deeply spiritual that they have attained a nirvana in their own life. If you haven't attained nirvana in your own life, then yes, there is some journey towards the me you want to be. And I think that everyone's life is just like we're not, just like ambiverts, like we're not all introverts or not all, there's a joke, like if you met an introvert or a real true introvert or extrovert, they'd be in an insane asylum or in a jail, right? Like, if you met a true one, that's, so we're all somewhere, some of the time I'm more introverted, some of the time I'm more extroverted, some of the time I'm happier with who I am, some of the time I strive very hard to be a better version of me. That's everyone's journey, and any moment in any day, you could be at any spot, and the next moment you might be at a different spot. But it doesn't change the fact that in general, as humans, we need to be aware of the me that you want to be, and that we need to think about how to close that gap, how really what we want to do. I guess this is your answer. The person who is so happy being the me that they are, I would argue, has probably already shrunk that gap so that they have become the me that they want to be. I mean, if there's no growth in their life because everything is so perfect, well, then that's probably because they've attained some weird magical spot that no human has ever attained. Right? I don't know any human like that.
So we're just talking to Martians.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any human like that.
I just met aliens.
Yeah, Martians,
Okay.
aliens, not Elon Musk.
Now we're going into a different topic.
Oh, although could he be an alien?
So yeah, who knows? He seems to be
wants to
way
get
more
back to
involved in
Mars a
space.
lot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, well, it's a good laugh. Before we get, because we're getting closer to the top of the hour, I did want to ask you, for anyone out there right now or who's looking at the recording and they do still think of starting to write a book, even if it's such a horrible journey, or it can be such a horrible journey, what would be the piece of advice that you would give them?
Okay, so first of all, I want to point out that we did have some answers. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, way to go! Nice answer. Okay, so like this is the thing. I think that people who have a book in them need to write that book. And if you think you might have a book in you, write that book. And you don't know if you're like it. I have a daily relationship to writing, which means that I love and hate it depending. Your relationship might be totally different. I know there are people who go, this idea was in my head for so long, getting it out was a relief, and I could get onto other ideas. So who knows what your experience is going to be, but just start, write it, start it, and start bad. This is the best. Okay, so here's the best, one of the best piece of advice I can give about writing. Write badly. Write badly, just write. Write is the word is right. Get it, write it. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad, write it. So in the chapter that I really like, Fight Fear That Disguises Sense, I never finished that story. In it, I talk about how easy it was for me not to write because I kept letting sense get in the way. I'd go, oh, hey, I should be writing this, but instead of writing, I'm going to go do a little more research because research is good. And if I do a little more research, it will make my writing better. So I'll go do that. And then all of a sudden 3 days go by or 3 hours go by or 3 years, like whatever the person, so part of what I did is I said, okay, I'm going to write every day. I'm a binge writer, so this was very hard. And every day I got up to write and I followed a pattern. I know we're running out of time. And the pattern was this. I read the last couple lines of what I'd written the day before. This was me writing, this was a script. So it wasn't my book, this was a script. I read the last couple lines and then I forced myself to write. And every single day that I did this exercise, I did it for a week, my brain went crazy. Every single day as I wrote, my brain went, this is crap. Why are you writing it? Stop writing. This is crap. Stop writing crap. and I would go, stop it. And I would, like, I was going through withdrawal. Like I would be shaky and I'd be like, it was like going through withdrawal. I'd be like, oh, I feel like I'm seeing ghosts and like, like, write, stop writing, don't write. All these things would come up and I'd write for like the hour. And I'd set my timer and I would do it. And I'd be, this is the worst thing I've ever written in my life. This is the worst. The next day I'd be writing, it'd be worse. Oh, this is the worst thing I've ever written in my life. Oh, and I'd write. And then Friday, so I wrote 4 days. And on Friday, I let myself read what I'd written. And of course, the magic happened, the miracle happened. What happened is that I read it and I went, oh, this isn't that bad. Oh, actually, this is actually pretty good. And look at the consistency. Holy cow. I wrote for 4 days straight and I got like, whatever, 15 pages done or 7 pages, whatever it was. And they're all like, they're not jerky and weird. They're all like following the same thought pattern and holy cow. That's the way I'm going to write from now on. So then I wrote that way until I finished that script. And so what was really important, I didn't let my bad writing stop me from writing. I just kept going, it's okay, bad. I mean, it was hard, but I was like, bad writing, it's okay. This is what I'm doing. If I'm doing bad writing, I'm doing bad writing. Get it done, get it out of me. So, and then you find it's not so bad and you can edit, editing.
That's it, the editing.
Yeah, edit there.
Okay, well, I think that sounds like a great piece of advice. So everybody who is interested in writing, just write, no matter how it is.
Yeah, force yourself. Don't listen to your inner voice telling you how crappy it is. Just write.
Or maybe listen to it and just say thank you.
Yeah, or just go, hey, you're here, you care. Thank you for caring. Put some of that energy into my writing. Yeah, that would be good. That'd be good, actually.
Okay. Well, sounds like a great piece of advice and a very nice way to kind of close the call. But one more question. If people want to reach you, what would be the best way to do so?
Sure. So you can reach me at my website, engagementunlimited.ca. So www.engagementunlimited.ca. I think it's in the chat. You can reach me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm under Roger Haskett. If you just Google Roger Haskett actor or Roger Haskett engagement or Roger Haskett my book, or go to the Audible or go to Amazon or go to my website, The Me You Want to Be. I don't think I'm hard to reach. I think
no, we just need your address.
Yeah, don't send me mail.
Social insurance.
Don't show up on my door unless you have like food. Food is good.
The meatloaf.
Oh yeah, some veggie loaf. Singing 1 out of 4 ain't bad. Oh, you kidding? You show up on my door with some meatloaf singing that song. You're my best friend. Come on, like you'll be my best friend.
Perfect. Okay, noted. Everything is documented. Thank you, Roger. This was great. Is there anything else that you want to? Any last remaining words for the discussion today?
No, thanks so much for doing this. It's awesome to have a chance to talk like this, really. And I talk a lot to PMI organizations, like lots and lots. And I often talk more than once. I come and I do an hour, and then I come back and do 9 hours. Please bring me in if you are in any PMI association or any project management. The stuff I talk about is really about how to be a better version of yourself and how to be a team player and how to be a team leader. All these sort of things that are often challenging. I'd love talking to project managers. So anyway, that's that. Thank you so much. And that's it.
I think, just to make a note, I think project managers are probably one of the the most concerned about all of these confidence and engagement needs. So I think that it's definitely an audience that needs your presence. So,
well,
we'll definitely do so.
Sorry to interrupt, but I also I do think that you guys have tremendous pressures on you, like the juggling of stakeholders that project managers have to do on an ongoing basis is eye-opening. Like when I talk to project managers, I'm like, wow, you guys do some very challenging stuff. And the stuff I talk about is how how to manage your own world so that you can do challenging stuff. So I do think that there is like that synergy. Anyway, thanks so much.
No, thank you, Roger. And for everybody out there, again, this was, I didn't think I mentioned, but the session is recorded, so you will have it available shortly on our LinkedIn page and our YouTube channel. And yeah, so thank you for chiming in today. And Roger, you are on the calendar for 11 July 2023, just FYI. And for everybody else, stay tuned for episode number 7. More information will be on posted on LinkedIn shortly. But thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you, Roger. Hope you're enjoying the beach.
Yeah. Thanks, Alinka.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.